Hey, welcome to Fanservice. On this episode, we're going to be talking about all sorts of changes coming to the comic book world and movie world. We're going to have the premiere of Pocky Box. Plus, Kim and I are going to be looking over the Avengers trailer and all sorts of fun. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for this episode of Fanservice. Hey everyone, welcome to Fanservice. You see we're short one today because Chris-Rachael's sick after dealing with South by Southwest fun. So I'm Gavin, joined by
Kimberly,
Pocky, and we have a great show line for you guys today because there's a lot of changes coming to comic book world in form of print and media, and so we're going to kind of dive into that. And Pocky and I are going to talk about the comic book movies we really want to see be made, and we're going to have all sorts of fun. We have a new segment called Pocky Box, which I don't know what to expect. You know what to expect?
No.
He's going to go on camera and do shadow puppets.
That may be a good or a bad thing. We don't know quite yet.
Yeah, we'll figure out when it happens. And so we want to take a little bit of time to talk about South by Southwest and our experiences there because, as you guys know, we did that epic 6-hour live show last week. If you missed it, it will re-air Easter weekend here on the same time, same channel. Plus, you can catch all the segments we've done on fanboytv.com. It was a lot of fun.
But we also didn't just do the movies. We also had a gaming expo happen here in Austin that actually got a lot of press. And we were part of that press, which next week, the week before Easter weekend, we will actually be doing here. Yeah. Weekend before Easter.
So next week you can see all the fun we had at the game expo. And I don't know exactly what to expect because I haven't seen all the footage yet, but I've seen Pocky geek out over indie games and stuff, so it should be pretty good.
And there was a lot of indie games this year, a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot more using the Oculus Rift, which I thought was pretty interesting. I want to see what's going to happen with the Oculus Rift.
Well, not just the Oculus. There was 2 other guys there showing off their 3D product.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Have you guys seen that Google's doing their own augmented reality holo programming thing?
I'm totally excited for that. I would love to walk around my fridge and go, yeah, I need eggs. I need to clean my coffee maker. And just
what is my roommate doing?
Only if it's done in the Animal Crossing style. And you get the animal going, yes, yes, in it goes, in it goes. That's the only way it's going to actually work out.
As long as it doesn't go like Serial Experiments Lane and then God shows up.
Oh, but what I liked about the Google one is they had all the guns on the desk. And you picked up and started playing a game and robots were dropping through the ceiling. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, I think that's what I would really want to do is be able to wear some Google Glass and run around the office and shoot my coworkers and be like, you don't know what's going on because you don't see.
Actually, the one is more interesting for me is what the horror games are going to be like. That all of a sudden, like, I really don't want to open my closet now. It's like,
that would be actually kind of fun.
No, I'm boarding up my closet.
Someone comes in, what are you doing? Don't go down the hallway. There's something down there. I saw it run by.
It actually will make you wonder if that hobo on the corner is really insane or if someone gave him Google Glass.
Oh, no, that would be hilarious because you'll start seeing things that no one else sees. Right. And it was like in Dead Space 3 when I played it with my friend. You got 2 different game experiences because one dude is seeing something because he's going crazy. The other dude doesn't. And so he's like freaking out in the middle of the game like, what are you talking about? Babies on the wall. There's babies on the wall. Oh, and then he would warp off someplace. His character stands like, did you disconnect? And I got to protect it. Oh, yeah, I can see it. Yes. It's causing quite a few.
Yes, it will be fun.
We hope it'll be fun.
Definition of fun may differ from other people.
But yeah, South by Southwest was pretty epic. They had all sorts of stuff downtown. They had a blimp flying around. They had Grumpy Cat on a banner for a day. I was like, I'm over Grumpy Cat. I was never on Grumpy Cat. I don't know why the internet's so obsessed with Grumpy Cat.
Grumpy Cat is actually doing Cheerios commercials, if you can believe that.
Can he even eat Cheerios?
I don't think it's good for him. If he does, I'm sure he'd hate it. So.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Actually, we also had Bates Hotel.
And Bates Motel was down there. Chris-Rachael had a good time at the trade show. And a bunch of the tech stuff that she and Michelle went to, like, they revealed the tricorder from Star Trek that actually works at South by Southwest. Of course, it was at 9 o'clock in the morning, so none of the people are awake to go to the panel, but hey.
Also, the Maker Faire this year was bigger and better than ever. And next year, I can't wait to see what they do there because it was huge.
Well, don't get disappointed about the tricorder. They're going to be on our show.
Oh,
Cool.
Yeah,
I will wear my uniform. I'm actually remaking my Star Trek uniform, so
classic, new, or new.
you have to create the classic when you can go buy the next gen because it's not as good. So I've got to remake my original.
I like the classic but movie version. That's the new to me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Sorry, I can't. I just can't get behind the new ones. I'm okay with them, but they're just not the same.
I can get behind the new ones. I can't get behind the originals.
That's just because you have to have everything exploding in lens flares.
I do. I like my lens flares and explosions. I ain't gonna lie.
My movie should not try to blind me. I shouldn't be like a deer in headlights trying to watch a movie in the theater.
Corrective surgery should not be an after effect of my movie.
It's cheaper that way, I guess, to $10, $11 for a movie ticket and LASIK surgery.
Yeah, that's how it works. So let's kick the show off with 10 things with Pocky and I. We're going to take you through our list of comic books we want to see turned into movies. So yes, 10 things today. We're going to be looking at comic books that you may or may not have heard of that we really think deserve a movie treatment because let's face it, everybody wants to turn comic books into movies. We've got everything Marvel's doing and everything DC's doing or trying to do. We really don't know how it's going to work out just yet. But this is an interesting list. How'd you come up with your list?
I came up with my list by a bunch of comic books I feel story-wise fit. Most of them are either 2 to 3 run comics, or that are now like graphic novels. So that's how I came up with mine. One of them that it's not on my list, I wish was my number 11 or 12.
This is only 10.
Yeah, it was Plastic Man, because I don't think DC will ever do Plastic Man because he's just too silly and fun, and no way you can make him Batman and dark.
Yeah, so let's kick it off with what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Deus Ex, not the video game.
I'm thinking the video game, sorry.
Yeah, not the video game. This actually is about a superhero who actually becomes mayor of New York after stopping one of the planes from hitting the 2 towers. One of the towers still goes down. There's actually a giant monument for it in the comic, but he actually stopped one of the planes from hitting the tower. From that, he ends up running for mayor because he feels he can actually do a good job.
No logical step.
Right.
Hey, I saved the town. You owe it to me.
Well, there's a lot more to it. Later on, you find out why he really did choose to become a mayor and a bunch of other stuff. And it's really kind of complicated, but in the end, it actually is more about what happens when a hero stops being a hero, but still actually wanting to do good.
Like when they get retired in Earth X?
Yes. Right, but in this case, it's what happens if Superman actually ran for like the governor.
Would you vote for Superman? Because I don't think I would. He's way too good. He's got a dark side. Like he probably twitches in his house and stuff. There's something wrong with Superman. No one is that good.
But you can't bribe him, at least that way.
I bet you could.
Probably.
Yeah, you put some kryptonite around. Who's so powerful now? My number 9 is Elf Quest. Who doesn't remember Elf Quest? That was like the most epic comic book back in the day. And you want to talk, we're getting this age where we're getting the high fantasy ones. We did a fantastic job with Lord of the Rings for people like me who don't like to read. But
also TV series,
Game of Thrones. We've got all these great fantasy aspects. So why not say, hey, let's kick Elf Quest in the butt and let's really, that'd be so much fun, don't you think?
Yeah, and those who don't know what Elf Quest is, it actually pretty much is the title. A group of elves.
Going on a quest.
It's more about the monsters and the smaller creatures. And this comic actually, the black and white is kind of really gray. It's even some of the heroes
black and white is gray, huh?
Well, yeah. It's not black and white. It's a lot of gray.
This is your art lesson for today on Fanservice. Black and white make gray.
Exactly.
All right, what do you have for your number 8?
Top 10. Now, I know this sounds weird. Like, no,
we're doing a top 10 list.
Yes. This actually is a comic about a world of superheroes. It's literally like...
Isn't that like every other comic universe?
No. I mean, literally everyone on this one planet is a superhero. It's basically like the one planet in Green Lantern Corp where every planet...
Oa?
No, not the living planet.
Okay, I was about to say.
No, but it's literally a planet of superpowers. Like everyone in the planet has a superpower, or they're galactic beings.
So that means, is Earth a super being too? Does he fly around the sun with a little cape on going?
No, not the planets are superpowers. It's a planet of people with superpowers.
Yeah, well, where'd they get it from? Mother Gaia.
Well, it's
the
actually
original superpower.
It's there's a lot of it, but actually it's a procedural kind of cop show, comic book. It's about murders and things. It's what happens on a planet where everyone has superpowers and crime happens. And it's about those police officers. It's also about like real life scenarios. What happens in a world where the homeless exists and the homeless guy is bulletproof.
No, you wouldn't be homeless in because obviously you go rob a bank.
Yeah,
all right.
From a teller who has the power to melt you with his vision.
Well, you're bulletproof. Come on. So my number 7 is Danger Girl. I Love J. Scott Campbell. And when he created Danger Girl, I was sold. It's
Yes.
like Charlie's Angels, but with guns and kick-assness, and it's got the whole vibe. It's like Archer and James Bond and Charlie's Angels all in one.
It has a sense of humor to it. It's fun. The characters have actual real responses.
Yes.
Some of the villains are
They're
very
over
odd.
the top great. I mean, it's everything you want in a super spy film with a bunch of chicks running around in it.
It would make a very interesting Charlie's Angels-esque movie. So.
It would, except, like I said, with guns, because you can't do a spy movie without guns. I don't care what you say.
Charlie's Angels had guns.
No, they didn't. In the movies, they didn't because they specifically went, oh, we're hippies. You can't have guns. We're going to, woohoo!
Karate chop.
Yeah, karate chop in the movies. The series, yes. Movies, no. But we're talking about movies right now.
Yes.
Which is your number 6?
My number 6 is Umbrella Academy, which is, again...
Not to be confused with Resident Evil Umbrella Academy, where people are learning to be bad guys and raise zombies. This is a completely different take.
Still bad guys, though. And involving music and involving what happens when you're a bad guy and you don't want to be a bad guy. And what happens if you're a bad guy and you're really way too into it.
Didn't they learn a lesson from Wreck-It Ralph?
Yes,
Obviously not.
they did. This comic book is really, really good. Its art is pretty. If you have a chance, any of these ones we're suggesting as movies, I really recommend some of these to go out and read. Umbrella Academy, I really, really recommend. It won a lot of awards.
Yes, because awards mean you must watch it.
Exactly.
Which goes to my number 5, Empire, which is a really kind of older comic, and it's where the bad guy won to take over the world. And it's about him trying to upkeep his empire with all these people trying to come up into it and his day-to-day drama. It's really, really good, but it had like 3 issues, and the dude stopped making it for some reason. I have no idea. It had a momentary research for like a month a couple years ago, and then boom, gone again. I like the idea of the bad guys winning, like in Wanted, which is not what we got in the Wanted movie. That movie was a POS.
Exactly. Read the original Wanted. There's a monster made of poop.
Yes, because that's why you want to read comics.
Monster
For
made of poop!
monsters. No. The original comic was so much better, and I think Empire would actually fix that. And, you can't jack up Empire. The bad guy won.
Yeah, the bad guy. This is one of the few cases that the bad guy wins, and you get to find out what are ramifications of that.
So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is The Authority.
Which is awesome! They fly around in a dimensional ship and stop things from happening.
One of the bad guys' power. One of the good guys' powers is his strength, and everything about him increases by how big your population is.
Yeah.
And the Authority
China,
is
you're screwed.
The Authority is really, really cool. It's what happens. A real life mentality of a guy who's invulnerable and has the powers of a god. What would his mentality really be like? Not Superman's.
It's awesome.
It's what happens when the good guys aren't as good as they should be.
Which goes to my number 3. Are we on 3 or 4? Yeah,
That
we're
was
on
4.
3. I haven't listened. I still can't figure this counting thing out. My number 3 is The Darkness. I flipping love The Darkness and Witchblade and Fathom. We have all that. There's rumors that there's a Darkness thing in the works, but it's never gone anywhere. I think the idea of the hitman who comes of age and gets his inherited power of the darkness that, because he's a womanizer and you can't have sex anymore because if you pass it on, you die instantly. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. Mob hitman, power, shadows, and darkness. The video game didn't do it justice. The comic book rocks. I think it'd be really fun to go down that dark Spawnish valley without the crappy Spawn movie that we got because that movie sucked.
And the Witchblade series wasn't very good.
Yeah, the Witchblade series wasn't very good because it really wasn't Witchblade. I didn't like the anime series either because they didn't do a good job of that because I wanted to see Sarah Panzini. Sorry. So Darkness, I think would be awesome. I think it'd be a lot of fun to watch dark minions instead of the happy yellow banana minions everyone's used to. I want to see minions that can eat you like a Ripper Swarm.
There you go.
That's what So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is J. Michael Straczynski's The Rising Star.
That gets 2 thumbs up for me because that was an awesome comic book.
The story is everyone in this small town who was pre-puberty gets hit with a meteorite. Basically, a meteorite crashes into a town, and everyone pre-puberty gets.
It's
powers.
basically Chronicle, but much better.
And everyone in this town, everyone pre-puberty gets superpowers, including anyone who was in the womb. So
That must suck when you're walking around pregnant, all of a sudden you got a superhero going, hey!
well, thing is,
Flying right out when it's born. Oh, I don't know how that happened.
with the Wolverine sperm.
He's got a placenta cape. So I'm done.
Okay. But it's actually also a murder mystery series.
Yeah.
Someone starts killing them off. Also, some of the powers aren't really nice to the user. Some of the users actually start having real issues. As an example, the one who's like Superman, who's invulnerable and has super strength, can't do anything in life. Because he can't feel anything, and he also has super strength. So he becomes fat, he becomes lazy, and he becomes an overnight security guard. By the way, kind of a little spoiler, he's the first one to die.
We should put spoilers up on screen time you say
Spoiler!
spoilers. All right, so that leads us to our number one, which it's the
It's your
one
number one,
comic
really.
I am obsessed with. I have met the creator behind it. I've done all the things, and it is coming back. But I want to see Battle Chasers be turned into a movie. If you think ElfQuest would be awesome, Battle effing Chasers, because I can't cuss on TV. Battle Chasers. It's about a small group of heroes, and that's about as far as they got in the comic book. As you know, you get introduced to the heroes. Dude stopped making it. It disappeared for years. He wouldn't answer any questions about it because it's the number one thing he would be asked at conventions. And now he's finally said, we're bringing Battle Chasers back. We're going to redesign it. We're going to do a mobile game. For some reason, everyone wants to do mobile games. And hopefully, they will evolve it into a movie, because I think this is definitely a comic book that needs a budget. You've got a giant steampunk robot, magicians, little girls with gloves that are awesome, warriors that are cursed. You've got
A high kingdom that is trying to take
super
over
high
everything.
fantasy. I mean, it is everything you'd want to see in a movie and just have the best time with. So, Battle Chasers is what I agree with.
Battle Chasers.
Battle Chasers. Battle effing Chasers.
Or The Authority or Rising Star, or any of these.
No, screw you. Your choices don't count. Mine count, because I got number one in Battle Chasers. That has been this week's 10 Things list. He's all pissy. Fine, you would pee on my Cheerios, I'll pee on your pizza. Good thing I don't eat pizza today. That has been our 10 Things list this week. If there's an idea you want to see, you can tweet us at FBTV Stone or send us a message. I really don't know what it's supposed to be Pocky D, but we just discovered Pocky D apparently isn't his Twitter name. So if you're tweeting it, some random person's getting it going, who the hell is this? Send us your ideas for 10 Things list. We'll put them up on the show. You see it every week. But right now, it's time to cut to our remote agent, Lance Allen, for Geek Week News.
We have your normally scheduled program for this breaking story from Geek Week News. I'm your anchor, Lance Allen. Pandemonium in the Mushroom Kingdom. Events have culminated to the point that the Mushroom Kingdom is engulfed in chaos like nothing ever seen before, despite Bowser's 47 previous attempts to take over the kingdom. For those not familiar with recent events, I will get you caught up. It all started with the court hearing. After years of legal battles with Mario, Donkey Kong finally found justice. The Nintendo star sued Mario for years of animal cruelty, citing years of degradation at the hands of the prodigious plumber, which drove him to escape and taking Mario's then girlfriend Pauline. This was years before he'd find his home in the Mushroom Kingdom and with Princess Peach. Finally breaking down on the witness stand, Mario confessed, simply saying, "It was me, Mario!" But the hits kept on coming for the Italian plumber. Shortly after his fall from grace, Princess Peach ran off with Bowser, the oft-time foe of Mario and the Mushroom Kingdom. According to inside intel, the couple eloped in a Vegas wedding and enjoyed the honeymoon at Bowser's castle. Seems that for years, Princess Peach was the inside person that kept getting Bowser in to kidnap her, using that time to spend together in their secret liaisons. And now with his fall from grace and side reports of his heavy narcotics use, she just finally decided to follow her heart and leave the champion of the Mushroom Kingdom for good. With Princess Peach marrying Bowser, Mario was stripped of his title of Hand of the King, leaving our hero without a title and most importantly without a job. Without Bowser to battle, his only remaining qualifications were as a plumber. So out of mostly pity for the fallen hero, the Toads of Toad Town gave Mario a job maintaining the whoop pipes. Big mistake for them. Firstly, Mario hadn't done any actual plumbing work since 1985. And secondly, in the wake of his downfall, his narcotics use only got worse. With no outlet to take his frustrations out on, Mario's use of shrooms and fire flowers only got worse and led to incidents of destruction from Mario's rage-fueled trips while on fire flowers. The worst came while trying to clear a blockage in the Soda Jungle Warp Gate. He somehow redirected it to the Rock Candy Mines. This flooded the mines with soda, which when striking the rock candy caused a severe chemical reaction, causing a fizzing foam to erupt from the mines and flood into the neighboring areas. The rush of foam caused the moraine clouds to be pushed over to collide with the frosted glacier. The moisture in the clouds then froze up into basketball-sized hailstones, which then proceeded to hail down upon the sparkling waters, causing several ships to sink. The sudden sinking of several large vessels, plus the extraordinary-sized hailstones, caused massive tidal waves which washed over the Acorn Plains, turning them into the Acorn Swamps. This flooding caused the substrate of the Layer Cake Desert to become unstable as its bottommost layer became weak, causing the entire desert to collapse into a giant sinkhole. That was 3 days ago. The only place left largely unaffected was Princess Peach's castle, which right now is serving as a makeshift hospital and refugee center. This was the final nail in the coffin of this tale. Seeing as there are no doctors in Toad Town for health care, they had fallen upon using their own narcotic power-ups to help the wounded. Stuck in the castle and their homes destroyed, overcrowding running rampant, and food supplies dwindling, the incidents of riots and fighting are becoming all more common. Clouds of clown-colored smoke and the rocketing of fireballs are now a regular occurrence in the castle. This once peaceful land now looks like a clown war zone. No one will recover from this to ever be the same again. Reports have it that Bowser is organizing a mass evacuation to Koopaland once the rioters have been pacified. And needless to be said, Mario has not been found to comment on his hand in all this. For Geek Week News, I am Lance Allen. Good night.
That was dark.
We were laughing the whole time because, in our 10 things list, when I said Super Baby War, what did you see?
In my head, when the whole placenta cape came into play, I was just imagining in my head this baby not knowing how the world works and actually flying on accident, just dragging a lady through the sky with her like a hospital gown just flapping in the wind and her just trying to, fight it to keep it down. It's just like, stop it, I haven't even given you a name yet, I can't even curse you out yet. It's just like that weirdness. I was just turning and trying not to laugh.
This is what happens when we, do live TV and things come out like placenta capes and stuff like that.
And Wolverine sperm.
Don't worry, folks. In a couple weeks, we're probably Gavin up an anatomy book.
Yeah, they're going to give me some anatomy books so we don't have so much fun. You guys are some party killers, man.
We're sorry.
Don't worry, it has pictures.
It has pictures. That'll be good for me because I don't read. So it's time to get to our main topic today, which we've called Comically Changing, because the world of comic books are continually evolving, continually changing, and we want to talk about the changes that are coming, like DC wipe the slate clean, Marvel saying, "Oops, Secret Wars is it. We're killing off all these things, starting over." Comic books are constantly doing that, constantly.
Yes.
And they're changing characters, like Thor's now a female and things like that.
So Thor is a female. It's kind of weird because male Thor is still around.
Yeah, we want to talk about these changes they're making, what we think they should be doing, and how this all ties into the cinemaverse, as they call it now, because I greatly enjoy the cinemaverse. It's simplified. It's not 800 different Thor comics every month, because I think as a person who wants to get into comics, it's probably really confusing when you go to a store and you see Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man, Spider-Man, The Adventures of Spider-Man, Spider-Man Jr., Spider-Ham. You don't know where to start.
The Web of Spider, yeah.
Yeah, the Web of Spider. Comic books have gotten really complicated, and they're kind of forced to the point where they got to reboot. What do you think about that?
I actually used to work in the comic book industry for probably about a total of 7 years. I've seen it happen, time and time again, and I think it's when they reach the end of their creativity. They're like, well, how can we change this and make it something that people will believe? Well, let's just backpedal or throw it into another universe, or, grab somebody else and say, okay, well, they died. Well, what happens after they died? And, just kind of throw a different spin on it, because what they're doing is really milking out a superhero who's existed for how many years now?
50 plus?
Yeah. They got to keep reinventing them somehow and make it plausible, so they throw in all that just randomness.
Also, you'll have writers who don't like each other, writers who change. I mean, J. Michael Straczynski has written for Superman, Batman. He's written for Spider-Man. He's written for several other comics. He's written for actually the Twilight Zone. He rebrought the Twilight Zone back as a comic book. And so, I mean, it's when you get a new writer, it's like J. Michael Straczynski's writing versus like Mark Millar's writing is totally different. I mean, you're going to end up with a very different hero, even though they're the same hero.
So I know that DC said recently, because they just did the New 52, didn't they?
Correct.
And I
Actually,
thought the New 52 went over really
now
well.
Year 3 or 4.
Yeah, they just did New 52, and they're already going to go back and reboot the entire thing.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's not selling. Okay.
If your comics aren't selling, something tells me it's not the fact they need to be rebooted.
Okay.
It probably is the fact that, hey, look what this other company's doing.
Okay, so there are 3 reasons reboots happen.
Okay, what's reason number 1?
Reason number 1 is the comic is not selling, but the brand is still popular. As an example, DC, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Justice League, all of their movies.
Aquaman.
Somewhat Aquaman.
Hey, totally forgot about Aquaman.
Game of Thrones Aquaman looks kind of nifty.
Game of Thrones.
So they reboot it so they can actually they'll reboot it. That way it's like a new take. Because number ones always sell the most. When a character dies, a character gets introduced, a character dies, or number 1. Those are the 3 things that sell a comic.
Well, like this week, Donatello died. It hit the internet. You can't find the comic anywhere.
No, you can't. So the second reason another thing happens is because a movie happened. So as an example, when Spider-Man 3 came out, the movie, they introduced the black suit. Coincidentally, Aunt May in the comic book was having an issue, so Peter Parker was feeling down, so they brought the black suit back. Not as the symbiote, but he's just wearing a black suit. well, why is Peter Parker wearing a Spider-Man? Why is Peter Spider-Man wearing a black suit? Because in the movie, it's telling a comic.
But that's not really a reboot or a redo. That's just
Well,
we ran out of ideas. Let's bring the black suit
well,
back. 'Cause
except
let's
for
face
the
it, it's
Secret
awesome.
Wars. This is where the Secret Wars come in. The Secret Wars is happening again because Marvel Cinematic Universe is making them more money than they know what to do with. That's why when the new Cinematic Universe, when the reboot happens with Secret Wars, they're going to tone down the publication of the Fantastic Four. They're toning down the publication of the X-Men. What they're increasing is they're going to give the Inhumans 2 comics. They're bringing Miles from the Ultimates universe into the regular universe. The reason is because Marvel doesn't own Spider-Man. They don't own Peter Parker's Spider-Man. So they're going to introduce this Miles Spider-Man, and they're going to emphasize on Miles Spider-Man. They're going to cut down the Fantastic Four because Fox owns Fantastic Four, but they own the Inhumans, so they'll publish the Inhumans even more.
Okay, what's reason number 3?
The reason number 3 is because it's gone on too long. So Batman, Superman, both, and The Flash have all celebrated
So why don't you just
75
end
years
it?
of anniversary. Because you want to get new readers. And if you have, let's say, like 20 years of continuity, that is a huge, thick wall that you have to deal with to get new readers. Like, hey, do you remember what happened in 1958 when this comic book happened? No.
They've already rebooted multiple times in that 50 years.
Right, and each time they reboot it, they always go back to the origin, but every time they move the origin, somehow, like, they want to use the Smallville's origin because Smallville origin takes place now, or took place in the 90s. So they're like, oh, you just fast forward 20 years. Guess what? Now it's happening now, but everyone in the 90s. So at least it's a little bit more relatable versus having him be born during the 1930s.
And plus, like, there's only so many superpowers you can give somebody that we
Yeah,
can
they
at least
keep
think up
inventing
right
ones for
now.
him.
Because,
Yeah.
like, think about, like, if the Flash, okay, well, he runs really fast. Well, what if we killed off the Flash, and then we brought in somebody else who just happens to be really quick? Well, we'd have to resell that brand, reinvest people into that character. But if we reinvent them, it's a little different.
There's things like that work, but if they took a soap opera approach and let people live and die and pass on their powers like the Miles Morales thing, or, you know, evolve
they just
things.
did with
Everything
Captain
that
America.
everything has a beginning should have an end. You shouldn't read the same character that requires a reboot for 75 years. When I rewatched Dark Knight Returns, I was like, you know what, I'm okay with Bruce Wayne passing on, because when I first watched him, I was, you can't do Batman without Bruce Wayne. But now I'm thinking, let someone else step into Batman like they did with Azrael in Nightfall. To keep it evolving that way, so you have an excuse to tell different characters, different points of view, and let the thing evolve. Because I think in the new Batman and the DC is a robot suit. He's wearing an exosuit that looks straight out of Appleseed. I'm not even lying.
Well, the new Batman is they're trying. Everyone always says that how like Frank Miller was the reason everyone loves Batman, and I disagree with that. You know why everyone loves Batman? Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Batman the Animated Series. Everyone loves Batman the Animated Series so much they had to put Harley Quinn into the series.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think what it is that with anything right now, with DC and Marvel in particular, what they're trying to do is get that movie money into their grasp. Because right now, it used to be like with Batman, like the original Batman movie back in 1986. The Spider-Man movie, some of the other ones, the Superman movie back in 79, 78, those movies sold comics because the comic book fans, people went and saw the movie and then they wanted to read the comic. But now, this day and age,
But you have to be careful with
the movies don't sell comics anymore. Movies sell movies.
But here's why. Because one day, people don't read, first of all. But secondly, imagine you just watched Iron Man 3.
Yes.
And you go pick up an Iron Man comic and see the Mandarin isn't some drunk actor pretending to be an idiot.
Right.
What do you think? Well, I mean, what would you think? Would you think, what's going on here? Why am I going to continue to read this when this isn't the Mandarin I know and love, or this isn't the Iron Man I know and love? You know, when they watch the movies, you can't exactly go back to comics because so much changes from movies to comics because there's only so much you can do. And they have to simplify things to tell it in a movie.
That's true, but then what do you think they're doing with the Secret Wars? Have you seen the artwork for what Tony Stark is going to look after the reboot?
I get that.
He looks like Robert Downey Jr.
They're doing that now, but imagine back then.
What,
You watch the Batman Returns and you pick a comic book. Wait, that's not the Penguin. That's not Catwoman. So there was that disconnect, and I don't know why. I mean, I'm glad now that they're trying to merge the two.
Yeah.
But is it too little, too late for the comic book industry?
What's too little, too late for the comic book industry actually has nothing to do with either. What it has to do with is the fact that nobody wants to go to a comic book store. comic book stores, like let's take Dragon. Everyone's like, there's a comic book store, there's Dragon's Lair, there's 10th Planet, there's blah blah blah, whatever, whichever which ones. Even your local areas like Big Apple in New York, whatever. If you look at those stores, they're not just comic book stores. Dragon's Lair is an example. This huge store, this big. This is their comic book section. This is their gaming and everything else section.
Games take up more space.
And actually, comic conventions do the exact same thing because, you know, it's blah, blah, Comic Con, wherever. And if you actually go to the dealer's room or to even look at the panel list, how much is actually like a comic book guest? Like, sure, Stan Lee's going to be at every single one, but, you know, how much is
I love
actually...
that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because they have the artist alley where the artists are, and none of the artists or comic book people are actual there. It's all film and TV. You're right. Wizard World is notorious for that.
Yeah, because there's actually a documentary that I watched on the dying breed of an actual comic convention. And they followed this guy who did nothing but sell comics for so long. He actually had a vault installed into his store for the extremely rare ones. And he barely broke even now whenever he'd go to a comic convention. And he was hoping to sell this really rare one. That's really hard to say. And then he just didn't do it. And he actually lost money on a convention because of it. It's really interesting. I wish I could remember the title of it. But it shouldn't be too hard to find if you just do a Google search.
But, yeah, I mean, we had the comic book boom and bust of the 90s. I mean, that's where we had a lot of the really bad, some of the stories. As I said, I got into comic books at the worst era ever. I got in the 90s. And the 80s were great, and then the 90s were horrible. But if you take the comic book conventions, like we've been to comic book, we went to the one in San Antonio. You and I did, and how much of that was comic books, how much of that was indie comics, and how much of that was Doctor Who, Walking Dead.
Okay, it was mostly TV video stuff. I remember.
It was TV video stuff. There, like even people promoting a movie. There was San Antonio one. There was a guy promoting a movie. He got Malcolm McDowell to play an insane doctor in an insane asylum. I'm like, that was bigger news to me than we got like this one, you know, we can talk to someone comic book because this guy got Malcolm McDowell. And that was just really cool.
But that's because, you know, being on TV, we're more geared towards TV film. If we were in a comic book store like you worked in, you'd want to live and breathe comics.
Actually, it wasn't a comic book store. I was actually on the editing side, the graphical side.
Oh.
I was actually making comics.
Yes.
So
and big
why'd
comics.
you stop?
Long story. It mainly devolves down to the company itself. It's like if I try to do something I love for work, you know, sometimes it doesn't become something you enjoy anymore. It became more work than fun, and I stopped liking comics. So I'm like, you know what? I'm losing my love of something, so I'm out. So.
Yeah, well, hopefully you don't ever lose your love for being on TV because it's fun.
No, I doubt that.
There's just also a lot more to it. I mean, Marvel and DC are one example of companies, but I think right now the companies that are doing the best comics is like IDW, Dark Horse, and
Yeah, they don't feel the need to reboot because they don't have the history.
But it's not
But
even that.
the point is Marvel and DC keep rebooting. You think they would have learned something by now. We don't need 20 Spider-Man titles a month.
Well, actually, if that was true, I mean, that's how business works. If it doesn't work, they don't make money, they stop it. But clearly it's doing something for them, otherwise they would have stopped a long time ago.
Although I know, didn't DC get rid of most of their multiple titles a month and stream it down to like 2 or 3 when they did the New 52?
If it's with Batman, there are 3 Batman comics. With Superman, there's 2. 3 now, technically, if you count Wonder Woman and Superman as a Superman comic. Technically, it's more of them as a couple. What it more is DC picking and choosing the major titles for their major readers. So Superman, Batman, Justice League. If you look at the Justice League, they put Cyborg in the Justice League. Yes, Cyborg was in the Justice League before, but why is he in it now? Oh, because he's popular on Teen Titans.
Well, he's also just a really well-done character.
They changed Teen Titans. They changed the entire cast to the point of the only 3 or 4 people that were in it that even remotely looked like the Teen Titans was Red Robin, not Robin, Red Robin.
They make great burgers.
Yes.
Same thought.
Red Robin, Superboy, who now uses psychic powers to whatever, and Diana, aka the young Wonder Woman.
Well, it's like the Avengers. The heroes are going to come in and out. A group dynamic title will always have people that come in and out.
Right.
And I like the fact, like you said, that they are bringing in the movie universe to kind of tie it all in, so maybe they'll kind of help do that. But I disagree with the need of multiple titles because look what they did with the Ultimates. They kept it simple, and it was awesome.
Right, except after
Except
a while,
what? There was nothing wrong with the
except
Ultimates.
the
It was
only
awesome.
problem is that the problem with the Ultimates universe was that when they were killing off characters, they got a little too willy-nilly with some of the writers because some of the writers were back in the old days.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, we'll just kill off Charles Xavier and have his neck broken.
Haven't they seen Days of Future Past? He mysteriously just comes back to life.
Except in the Ultimates universe, they've only brought back one hero ever. And that was a clone, technically.
And that's good. That's the way comics should go. You should
Yes.
let things have a beginning and have an end and keep it going forward so that you're not continually having to tell the same story over again, the same origin story over and over again. I dread what they're going to do. Are they going to reboot Spider-Man, go back to high school? I hope to God not. We've spent 2 movies in the last 10 years that have already done that. Let's keep moving.
But it's the sad thing is, like Kim said, it's a business.
Yep.
So which Spider-Man sells most? High school, college, married. The first two. That's why every
'cause married life
cartoon,
just isn't
every
fun.
show.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
they
but
want to
nobody-
escape from life.
Yeah,
That's why
right.
a comic exists.
Right. So nobody wants married Peter Parker. Why do you think at the end of one of the most major runs of comics, Marvel said, we're going to have it where Peter Parker never got married? And that yet angered everyone, they stuck to their guns.
No, because that's when they create the alternate universes like Earth 52, Earth 53, Earth 6. Do you really need to alternate universe timelines?
Apparently they do.
Yeah,
It used to be called What If. They were one-shots. That's how we got Spider-Ham.
Yes, I love Spider-Man. but that's also where we got like Spider-Gwen. Like a great example right now of alternative universes done right is Spider-Gwen. It's Marvel's new title. It's Gwen. What if Gwen Stacy would have gotten bit by the spider instead of Peter Parker? And Peter Parker ends up becoming the Lizard. There's a lot to it. Read the backstory on that one. It's really cool.
It's a really cool comic. I'm not
It
gonna
is,
lie.
but they just turned it. They did a one shot with her and the webs in a comic where they said, "Hey, look, Spider-Gwen's still alive," and they did this one thing, and it sold like gangbusters. And now she's got her own comic. Daredevil's a bad guy who's an enforcer for Kingpin. He kills the Vulture after she beats him up. She nearly dies.
I think comic book fans like that bit of escapism, but I think the problem is we always go back to the staples that we know and love because we've been force-fed the same thing for 75, 50 years.
But
It's this, and this. I want to see it evolve where it, allows Miles Morales to come to be Spider-Man, or Steve Rogers finally dies and new Captain America steps in, or they change, the evolving groups of people. But I don't know anything about Guardians of the Galaxy, but I love the movie, and I hear in the comic book it's always different. I'm like, I want to see the same people, but that's my cinema mentality. I don't have the comic book mentality. And I think if the comic books were to stick to their guns and just keep things simple, they'd be easy. And I'd probably do it more. That's why I like the independent comics like IDW, stuff like that. They're so much better.
Well, IDW, they deal with licensed titles. They've got Ghostbusters, they have G.I.
Mars
Joe.
Attacks takes on
They
everything.
actually have Doctor Who as well. I used to work on those.
Yeah. I mean,
You were just multi-talented. I'm finding out all these
It is.
things on TV.
I'm like an onion, just keep peeling back layers.
Onions, yes.
But I
You're
think-
quite good.
Except I don't make you cry, hopefully.
Not yet, at
Not
least.
yet. Time.
But if you think about it, it's one of the reasons why I think Doctor Who works so well. I mean, not going on a Doctor Who rant or anything. But
It's
they
regenerating.
just same character but different actors, and that's why the whole like who's your favorite Doctor is a question.
But that's specifically designed to be that way. They'd have to find a way to. I mean, I don't think there's
Why
any
did
way to
just-
pass off Spider-Man's power unless he throws up on someone or bites them. Because he is radioactive, a spider. If he bit someone, he could pass on his power like a werewolf.
Right. Or if he got married and had kids, and then the kid.
Oh, we're not going into the spider baby.
No,
I read
no,
that
no.
one.
But like his example, Captain America. Like he's already given the title off. Steve Rogers already handed it off. It's gone to the Falcon. He uses the shield. He's not as effective with it. But why don't you just treat the heroes as a title instead of a
Exactly.
person?
I think
that
that's where they
totally
should
would
go.
work.
So you wouldn't need a million reboots.
But here's the problem.
There's
don't
always a
want
problem with you.
The problem with as a company would see it is Steve Rogers, Captain America, is a brand to them, and it would make money
but
for them.
they're already evolving it, and trust me, I don't think they're hurting for money. The cinemaverse is exploding. Their TV verse is exploding, and at least those two tie together. Whereas DC's like, no, what you see on TV isn't going to tie into the movies. I'm sorry, they don't play well together.
And
DC's jacked up.
And plus, it's like having to resell somebody on a new character. Like, what if I absolutely love Peter Parker and then you kill him off and give it to somebody else? I'm like, but where's my Peter Parker? I loved him.
But then you would move on.
Well, you might lose readers for
But
it.
you'd
too.
also get new readers.
Potentially. It's a risk
Yeah.
they'd have to take.
And that's a risk, particularly with the comic book industry. The comic book industry in the 80s and 90s was selling millions of issues per title. Now they're getting millions of issues as a company. They're not getting the numbers they used to.
Because media's changed. People are are they counting the online sales, or are they counting the people who pirate it?
I don't know. I don't know
I
if
don't
they
think they
count
would
the
count the
online sales,
pirates
but
at all. It just
You
seems like
should.
standard
This is-
business practice.
Yeah.
I didn't get money, I'm not going to count that one.
But it would be a good statistic. How many people are pirating it? It's really how you would gauge.
Yeah, especially
Because
holes in your company.
I heard so Fallout Boy Release album, they sold like 138,000 copies the first day. I was like, that's like all of South Austin.
Yeah.
I remember when that used to be major numbers. Are they counting digital sales for things like this?
They should. They should segment them. I mean, I actually used to work with some of the numbers because I was actually in comic book, like literal printed comic books, and then my last one was digital. So like iPhone, Android, tablets, things like that. And I know that they count those sales because they would actually ask us how many of this title sold, how many of that title sold. So they are keeping track.
Well, and we'll see what happens with the reboots with DC and Marvel. Hopefully they kind of simplify things and we don't have to do it again in another 2 years and have this discussion again in another 2 years. So it's time to move on to, I'm excited. Are you excited for this next part?
I'm excited.
I don't know what to expect.
What are we doing next?
All the hosts have a monthly
stuff.
segment. I did Stone Takes on the first week. This is the third week, so it's Pocky Box. He has not told us what's going to happen. So we're going to be on the sidelines like popcorn eating. So hopefully it's going to be really good and have lots of fun. So
I'm excited to see what I do too.
here comes Pocky
Let's
Box,
go.
our brand new segment.
I am literally on a box. Hold on. I was literally standing on a box, but apparently it didn't work. Hi guys, this is the Pocky Box. This is where I make observations about our favorite fandoms and talk about them. Why? Because I have nothing better else to do with my time other than sit and stare at the walls and question my reality. Such as an example, has anyone ever noticed that Gotham PD never has a retirement party for any of their detectives? Is this because no one ever lives long enough? I mean, is Crocodile and like all of the other villains just having pin-ups of all the detectives they've ever murdered? Also, has anyone ever questioned why no one figures out that the only person who can possibly afford all the gadgets in all of Gotham is one guy, and he happens to be a millionaire who lost his family? Why doesn't anyone ever figure out who Bruce Wayne is? Fact, Batman. Also, speaking of superheroes, has anyone ever noticed that Superman seems to be immune to all viruses ever? I mean, you know, he came from an alien planet. Why did chickenpox or the measles or mumps kill him? I mean, he just sort of landed. He didn't have any of our immunity systems. Has anyone ever watched War of the Worlds? That doesn't seem to be an issue. Also, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. The hairs on his hands hold up his things. Doesn't seem to actually be a viable option. Maybe like suction cups for hands? That would make more sense to me. But that's just silly and weird. And I approve of silly and weird. Speaking of Spider-Ham, what would he taste like? Ham or spider? That is also a question I ask myself on a daily basis. I have a crew that are dying over here in the corner. This is making me amused. Also, speaking of Doctor Who's time travel, has anyone ever questioned about resetting your watch? I mean, back, Bill and Ted did it. It's like, hey, reset your watch. Your clock's constantly moving forward. The Doctor Who, that doesn't seem to be happy. He just goes willy-nilly wherever he wants. But that doesn't seem to be working either. Also, speaking of superpowers, Wonder Woman. If she was made of clay, does that mean she actually has a DNA sequence? Or she's just statues that just seem to be floating around? Also, why doesn't other gods seem to be doing this? Why doesn't other superheroes make statues of themselves and ask the other gods to seem to be doing this? And speaking of the Pantheons, why doesn't the other Pantheons start getting heroes of their own stuff? And we've already proven that in DC and Marvel Universe, multiple Pantheons exist. Why does it, since Zeus does it, why doesn't, Odin have his own little statue superhero floating around making up stuff as he goes? And speaking of which, why do the gods have the power to make an invisible airplane? Why not a helicopter, a hovercraft? Something that's slightly also, where does it park? Speaking of other heroes and stuff that we've all been wondering about that in my mind should be asked in questions. Cyclops. Like, seriously, what happens when he closes? I know when he closes his eyelids, theoretically the things are still going. Does that mean he has no eyelids? And how does he, what happens if he has allergies and he needs to put little eyedroppers in? Does he just blow away half of X Mansion when that happens? I need to know. Also, Jubilee. Who thought Jubilee was a good idea for a character design or anything? You decided to make a character whose entire point was to be cool. You have her a yellow trench coat. Why? Because trench coats were popular in the 80s. You gave her wraparound sunglasses. Why? Because in the 80s, those were cool. And finally, recently you decided to make Jubilee a vampire. Why? Because the Twilight kids like vampires. So clearly, Jubilee has to be a vampire. This is Pocky. I have a box that now I'm going to stand on and bring up the camera. I'm now off my box. And now time for some other random stuff that you probably care about.
Okay, I have no idea how we're going to, follow that.
I don't even know if I could stop laughing long enough to actually do what I need to do.
We didn't know what was going to come in Pocky Box. That was quite hilarious. I had to unplug because I was choking over there. That was quite good. You're going to have a hard act to follow, too, because you and Chris-Rachael are going to have segments as well.
Yeah, I got to figure out what my segment is, and I don't know if I can top that.
So, welcome to the Fan Service Trailer Show, where we're going to kind of look at the culture behind the trailers we're going to be watching, and we're going to kind of talk about some things. This week, we're going to be looking at the Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, I don't know about you, but it's going to be really hard to top the first Avengers movie, because that did something we never thought we'd see in movies ever, and that teamed up heroes from multiple studios into one film. Mm-hmm. How do you top that?
I guess we'll find out. I mean, the trailer itself looked pretty interesting. I guess we just have to watch the movie and see how well they actually top themselves.
I like the fact that they didn't jump straight to Thanos, though. I like the fact that they're going with Ultron, because Ultron's awesome. But I remember hearing them say, if you've seen the end of Iron Man 3 with all the different Iron Man suits, they weren't going to know how to top that. And it seems like, I thought that was kind of, I don't know about you, but when I see the trailer, it seems like that's what they're doing. All the different Ultron suits are going to do attack. So I'm wondering, is it going to be in Castle Von Doom, which they can't do because they don't have Fantastic Four. So there goes that idea. Because they're in a castle. Some random castle that Ultron decides to attack instead of the middle of the city. I guess they're like, New York got hit by aliens. We'll let the robots attack the countryside of England,
Hey, why not mixing fantasy and robots? I suppose they have to have a contrast of some variety. So.
Yeah, when you start seeing the LARPing Ultrons come out, because there was a LARPing Ultron somewhere.
There's a guy going, fireball, 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 and it's just...
No, you did not say it slow enough.
Oh.
You are not following the LARPing rules. It is fireball, fireball,
You can tell
fireball.
I've never LARPed in my life, even though I cosplay.
So I'm really excited. I think what everyone's the most excited for is probably the Hulkbuster fight, because it's the Hulkbuster armor.
And there's like a tiny clip of this in the actual trailer, and I didn't expect it. I don't know how I feel about it. Just like, oh, Hulk is smashing a suit. It wasn't that thrilling
a robot
for me.
suit with a person inside.
Yeah.
So I do want to address the weird rumors everyone has. Who do you think is going to die?
I haven't even thought about it. I prefer to think happy thoughts. So.
They all know someone's going to die. The most recent is going to be Quicksilver this week because they technically don't own Quicksilver. He's an X-Men. I hope it's Hawkeye because they don't do anything with Hawkeye. But it better not be Black Widow because she kicks ass.
There's too many rabid fanboys about her. I don't think they're going to kill her off because otherwise they piss off all their audience.
I can see it being Hawkeye though. I really do think that Hawkeye. I mean, he's good enough to go. I mean, they don't even do anything with Hawkeye. It's like,
I was actually surprised to see him in the trailer. I was like, oh, I guess he got more work.
There was that other hero.
He got more work. Good for him.
Yeah, you were in a basket in Thor something or other, and you were obsessed by aliens in the other movie. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the Avengers: Age of Ultron trailer, and then we'll be right back after that to wrap up the show.
I was designed to save the world. People will look to the sky and see hope. I'll take that from them first. There's only one path to peace. Their extinction.
Tried to create a suit of armor around the world. But I created something terrible. Artificial intelligence. It's called the Ultron program.
I'm sick of watching people pay for our mistakes.
Isn't why we fight so we can end the fight and go home?
Well, you amazingly failed.
We all are, with nothing but our wit and our will to save the world. So stand and fight.
No way we all get through this.
I got no plans tomorrow night.
I'm always picking up after you boys.
We can tear them apart. From the inside.
That's the best you can do! You had to ask.
So yeah, Avengers: Age of Ultron.
I don't think anyone's gonna die.
Well, they're saying someone will die. I wouldn't be surprised with somebody that nobody cared about. But they're bringing in Spider-Man, and they're going to try to bring in more of the Falcon. Someone's going to have to go. I mean, it's too much screen time for so many people.
Well, Falcon's not going to be in this movie. Neither is Spider-Man. Now, there's rumors that he may make a shadow appearance, like he's just going to pop up in the back.
Well, I know, but as they go forward into Infinity War, I mean, they're talking about bringing Guardians of the Galaxy into that one, too. It's like, well, how many people can you put on a screen at once?
Now, technically, how they're getting around the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver being in the movie is they're actually calling them Inhumans, because that's the rights they own to that one.
See, I wish Fox would have played nice, because the Quicksilver they had in Days of Future Past was fantastic. He was amazing.
Except there's one problem. That Quicksilver would have been in the 80s, and this is now, so he'd be in his 40s.
It's called makeup. They do have makeup artists. Botox, yeah.
Botox. We're dealing with a superhero that's probably older than, like, that's technically older than Tony Stark.
Now, I'm also thinking, which would be just completely dreaming, but the person they kill off would be the Hulk, because they send him to space. If they end it with sending him to space, I will die, because you know what comes.
Yeah, he just gets to go to Planet Hulk.
And that leads to World War Hulk.
They've already announced Civil War. They've already announced several movies. But the one thing they haven't said is there's going to be another Hulk movie.
They won't. I mean, he did a fantastic job as the Hulk, and why wouldn't they? Because they have something up their sleeve.
I think Hulk is much like Hawkeye, that he makes a good paired with somebody else, but as a standalone movie, I don't see it, because it's not as entertaining. And two movies.
What's not entertaining about watching some giant green thing go crazy and smash stuff?
Well, two movies have proven so far that doesn't
one
work.
was bad. Two was good.
Yeah.
Two was good. Yes.
But think about it. If he goes to a planet full of other things that can smash back, why not? That's just an extra smashing movie.
And this way, he's not in Infinity War, and that's why they have to do it in 2 when so many things happen. He comes back for Avengers 5, World War Hulk. Just give it to me. I will be totally content if you do a World War Hulk movie, because that was one of my favorite storylines ever.
Yeah, I just want to see She-Hulk. It's just personal favorite.
That would be really nice.
I would love to see that.
Would she still be an attorney?
I would hope so. That's the one that I like. So.
It's either her or Betsy Ross is the Red She-Hulk.
Well, see, that's the reason why I'm thinking about it, because if you look at the products, there's Savage Hulk, the Gray Hulk.
Yeah.
Why would they introduce that unless something bad's going to happen?
Sure.
Just saying. So thanks for watching the show today. We've had an amazing fun time. I hope you guys have enjoyed everything from the beginning to end. We've had a great time talking and laughing. Yeah. We've laughed more this show than we've ever laughed on a show before.
Exactly.
The strange things that come out of our mouth.
Beauty of live TV.
Yeah, so don't forget, next week we're doing the South by Southwest Gaming Show,
yes,
which will be here, and you can watch that live. After that, you can watch the entire shebang of 3.5 hours of South by Southwest interviews on Easter weekend. And we have all sorts of fun things coming up in April. More of us, new segments. We keep going forward. I do want to talk. May 23rd is our 8-bit gaming salute, because I'm redneck today and I can't talk. 8-bit gaming salute. We're doing 24-hour gaming-thon in this studio with all sorts of fun things. So that's going to be quite crazy.
And we're planning food stuff. And if you
we're
want to
planning food stuff. Oh, I hope so. We'll be in here
food
24 hours.
Yes.
It's going to be video games, board games, LARPing, pen and paper, video game bands. We're going to rock it out for a good cause. If you don't know what it is, you can head to fanboytv.com. There's a link to the 8-bit salute, so you can find everything that we'll be doing in our growing schedule of epic fun things. Austin Toy Museum's doing a massive retro gaming thing with us for that. And I've got a Star Wars thing coming up that's going to be hilarious. And hopefully the premiere of a video game that we love on this show. So we'll see what happens.
Also, I've been trying to plan some stuff for us in the future. I am in charge of trying to get some guests on here, and it's going to be kind of interesting. I may have set my bar a little too high, but we'll see what happens.
There's no, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? They can say no.
Yeah.
So, yes, we have all sorts of fun things coming for you guys. Any last things you want to say before we go?
Don't forget, we're doing Twitch. I'm Pocky_FTPV.
FTPV, what does the P stand for?
FTV_FTV.
FPTV, Fan Princess TV.
You're cheating on us. That's what it is.
You are cheating on us with another group? I will stab you.
With princesses.
Fan Princess TV.
They have ponies. That's why he goes over there.
I think I might have to cheat too.
Oh, God dang it.
And they have Ever High stuff and you know,
Ever After High?
Yes. That would be Ever High.
I like Monster High.
So that's her thing. Monster High is hers. But yeah, check us. I'm there. I air on Wednesdays, sometimes some other days, but mostly on Wednesdays.
And I'm pretty random on Twitch. My Xbox tag is Pandoramonium. Last O is a 0. And my Twitch is the same thing, but it's actual O's. It wasn't taken. So you can find me that way.
Yeah, so we're working on an event calendar on our site so you can see when everything's going to happen and all the upcoming shows, what we're going to do. We have more Twitch shows. We have more actual productions, and like we have Chaos Play we're trying to work on. Yep. We're going to bring back Game Storming as a whole show. Adventures in LARPing already developing its own show.
I'm going to be doing a show about video games.
Because surprise, that's all you ever do is video games.
Well, I do. Well, no one else does video games.
I'm doing a show about socks today.
I did that once. No one watched it.
Plus, if you liked all our comic book talk, we did just start a brand new podcast called Long Box Literature. It is really entertaining if you go listen to it. They dissect story arcs and art, and like the first one where they talked about the ugly art in the corner, like someone got real lazy. It was hilarious.
Check it out.
All right, so we're out. We'll see you guys next week for South by Southwest Gaming Expo. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
You guys are lame. Seriously. This is what I have to deal with. Serious lameness. Bye.